What's going on, everyone? Welcome to another episode of CombatFC podcast. My name is Marian. We got Rick here, my co-host tonight. Rick, you want to kind of give people a quick 20-second rundown of who are the guests for tonight?
Yeah, absolutely. So first up, he should be dialing in any minute now is Travis Demko. He's got kind of an interesting background. He's got a lot of pro boxing fights.
Nice.
And his MMA background he had a couple amateur fights very early on, and then he had some pro fights mixed in, and it's been a little while, or he had some gaps in there where we didn't see him in the cage for a while. So I want to dig into that a little bit and try to figure out, is this kind of a one-off and he's going to go back to pro boxing, or is MMA going to be kind of his big thing moving forward? And then we've also got Jake Pilla coming in later.
Oh, that's what's up.
Yeah. Jake looked really good on our last event. He's got another fight coming up now, so we're going to talk through that a little bit. We've had some changes on the opponents for Jake, so we're trying to figure out exactly. We'll talk about it on other podcasts. We've got a couple options for him, but
actually, Travis is just about to join now, so I'll let him in. And
absolutely.
then we'll dive into it.
Perfect.
Mr. Travis Demko, what's going on, brother?
How's it going, my man? 1 second.
What?
I just got.
Yeah, no worries.
All right, cool. I'm back.
Welcome to the show.
Thank you, man, for having me on.
100%. How you been? What's going on with you lately? And let's give people a little bit of a backstory for people that may not be aware of who you are, your backstory in boxing, MMA, things like that.
All right. Yeah. Travis Demko, Stoughton, Mass. I started in MMA, had about 2 amateur fights, and then I went to the amateur boxing scene where I had close to 50 fights. I think I had about 48.
That's what's up.
Yeah. And after that, I won the Southern New England Opens a couple times, and I broke my hand in the New England's my final year. And after that, I said, it's time to turn pro. I was done playing around in the amateurs for boxing. I was 9-1 professional boxing. And then after that, I was ready to get back to MMA. So I had my first MMA pro fight right before COVID. And then I just had one last March. And then unfortunately, right after, I had to get knee surgery, and now we're here at the third one at CombatFC.
How was recovery after surgery? Everything went well?
It's honestly the best thing that's happened to me. It's like I had a brand new knee. I was walking around with a knee popping out for about 2 years, and didn't know. I had a doctor tell me that it was, it wasn't something as serious as I thought it was, and I just had to go to strength training for it, and I did that, and it kept popping out, and I said, maybe let me get a different opinion. And I finally got a different opinion. I actually popped it out 2 weeks before my last fight. So yeah, I had to get it done.
That's what's up. Yeah. Happy to hear that recovery went well. So one thing that I always like to do on the show before Rick kind of gets into the fight coming up and things like that, let's try to give people a little bit of you don't have to go like too deep into the story, but something that people might not know about you. And this can be at a personal level. This can be some hobby that people might not even think that you are even into it. Like some people had, maybe a vision of what you're trying to build. Maybe you have some type of business involvement or anything that you can imagine to kind of get people a little bit of behind the scenes in your life, in your personal life.
I mean, nothing in particular. I mean, the main thing I really want to do with this game is going to the next level. And I've been fighting at this for a while. I've been training for a long time, fighting for a long time, and I've had a lot of ups and downs in my life. And I'm finally at the point where I think I'm ready to make the leap to the next level if I can put some fights together and really do this thing. And I had a really bad accident 4 to 5 years ago that really woke me up, and so it's put me on the right path. And I'm ready. I'm ready for the big show. I'm ready to take things to the next level. I know what my skills are, and I know what I can do.
100%. What do you feel like between MMA and boxing? And it doesn't have to be like straight black and white type of response, but what do you feel is your spot specifically? Like, what do you feel like at home, pretty much?
MMA for sure. I just feel like I have a lot more opportunities to end the fight anywhere it goes. Boxing will always just have a spot in my heart. It's a sweet science to me. It's just a beautiful art to me. You know what I mean? I love going in there, moving around, and there's a million different ways you can fight boxing too. But yeah, boxing will always have a special heart for me, spot in my heart for me. But MMA, I feel like I'm more dangerous. I definitely have
100%.
in the bag.
Nice. And with the fight coming up, how were you planning for it? Did it just happen for the opponent to be ready? Were you planning to get a spot in one of the
Yeah, no,
events coming up?
I was looking around, and Joe Cav, the matchmaker, reached out to me, and they asked me if I wanted to fight on the card. I said 100%. He got back to me with an opponent relatively quick, and we both agreed to it. It was boom, boom, boom. It was pretty much one of the easiest promotions I've worked with so far.
I'm pretty sure Rick loved boom, not wasting time, just going right into.
It was they worked with me in very good fashion and timely manner.
Love to hear that, man. Rick, you want to dive into the fight coming up?
Yeah, absolutely. And it's always good when it goes as quick as it does, right? So we got a quick answer back from you too, and it was a very easy process, and it's always good when that happens. And thankfully, I don't want to jinx it, but we haven't had any issues with opponents. We've had a bunch of guys pull out in other fights, but this is one of the first ones we booked, and it stayed together. So
Awesome.
So did you happen to see your opponent fought on the last show? It was a pretty quick fight, so it's tough to really probably pull much from that one. But have you seen his other fights? Obviously, he had a knockout in BKFC. He's a pretty well-rounded guy. He's a purple belt in jiu-jitsu as well. So kind of what have you seen from his fights in the past? Is there anything that anything you feel like you need to avoid with him, or
I actually was the first time I was doing, just funny, I was doing laundry last night, and that was the first time I really kind of started watching some of his film. And the kid's a tough kid. He comes out ready to fight, comes across the ring, throwing punches, throwing kicks. He's ready if it goes to the ground. So the kid's a well-rounded fighter. He's not a kid, he's a grown man, but he's a tough kid. He's very durable. And I don't think that last fight showed what he really can do. So yeah, I'm just training like I'm ready for anything. I'm not really worried about what he's doing. I'm just making sure that I'm ready to fight in every aspect of wherever it goes.
Yeah. And now what is, I know you were with Lowe's on MMA for a while, and I think you still cross train with those guys, right? So, what was, how much work did you do on the ground? I mean, obviously people probably, even when they pull you up on Tapology, the thing that pops up is your pro boxing record, right? So people are likely looking at you like, okay, this is a guy that's going to come out and look to box, look to use his hands in MMA. But kind of what's the rest of your game look like? I mean, how much time have you spent working on the jiu-jitsu? And
my first two pro fights, I finished on the ground, one by ground and pound, and one by rear naked choke. My last fight, so I haven't even really got to display my stand up fighting. So yeah, I mean, I wrestled through high school. I did a lot of jiu-jitsu growing up, so it's always been part of my game doing MMA. It's nothing that I've avoided. I just like striking, and that's where I've always been fond of. So I gravitate towards the striking, but I'm ready for anything. I'm training everything.
Yeah, I'm pumped about the fight. It looks like I was really pumped about it when the last matchup that we made. And again, your opponent's Josh Krejci. I don't know if I said his name out loud yet.
Yep.
I was really pumped about his fight with Pilla last time, and I think that he's someone that he's never in a boring fight, and that's part of the reason I like Josh and why I was looking to book him in the first place, because he goes out there, like you said, he comes forward, he's throwing a lot of punches, he's not afraid to be on the ground, and He's the type of guy that, as someone fighting him, he's probably the type of opponent that you look for, right? Where it's, okay, like he's not going to go in there and just try to wrestle you and be boring. It's
Exactly. I've seen a couple fights. He comes forward, he throws punches. So, I mean, that could play into mine and play into my game. And I'm looking forward to really standing up on the feet and striking with him. But if it goes to the ground, like I said, I'm ready.
And again, I mentioned a minute ago that obviously I saw some photos of you still cross training with the Lozon guys. What gym are you out of? And can you tell us a little bit about kind of who you've been training with, and just things like that.
617 jiu-jitsu. But I train everywhere, man. I'm a gypsy. I go to Lozon's, I go to 617 jiu-jitsu, I go with my boxing coach. I go to a couple different boxing gyms. I go to Tom Egan's over in Quincy. He's got a Ramada trifecta. So I'm moving around everywhere. I like to get a lot of different looks. I think just staying at one place can make a person stagnant. So, I mean, the more looks I get, the more experience I get. And that's how I look at it.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's definitely becoming more and more common. We've got, it seemed like Mike Bulger was doing something similar, and he's fought on our last couple shows. And I believe you and Mike are friends, right? So
yeah, Mike train a lot. Yeah, we kind of same thing.
Yeah. Rico DeShulo, he's headlining the show. He does, he kind of does something similar. He bounces around to a bunch of different gyms. So it seems like that's definitely getting more and more common, in 2023. And do you have someone that you'd consider your head coach though? I mean, is there someone that you kind of view as, okay, this is the guy that's definitely in my corner. He's the one that's kind of helping me put it all together, or are you kind of trying to blend it all with the different coaches as you go?
I got 3 guys in my corner. I got my boxing coach who I've been with since 16, 17 years old. So I don't even care if I was in a chess match. I want him in my corner just because he makes me feel comfortable. He always has the right thing to say to me before the fight. And that's just that comfortability with him. And Tom Egan's the one that's been doing the MMA. He puts it all together for me. And I've been working a lot of jiu-jitsu with my man Hugo over at 617. And he's helped my game a lot. So all those guys have been really pivotal and helping me out for this fight. So that's the answer right there.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's I'm glad that you mentioned Hugo. He's someone that, we were talking to, someone was trying to help me, or had given me his name as someone to try to match. And
Yep.
Good luck with that. I've given his name to 35 people, and they Google him and they're like, no.
Yeah, no.
Like,
Trying diligently to get him on a card. It's not an easy task.
Yeah, that's one that it looks like we'll our next show after this one is June 16th, so we'll have to really push to try to get him on there. And it's tough because nobody wants to fight that guy for free, right? And
no.
In mass they usually require people to have at least one amateur fight before they go pro. They usually do that. I mean, in his case, it might be a way to get around that based on the jiu-jitsu credentials.
Yeah.
But even still, fight it. And for, we've only called him Hugo. We're talking about, I think, was he like a 7-time world champion in jiu-jitsu, Hugo Marquez? So
I know he's a world champion, 5-time, 7-time, whatever it is.
It's some crazy number. Yeah. It's, we had Fabio Alano made his amateur debut on our show, and he was a 3-time world champion. And we found one guy willing to say yes, so it's, with Hugo, it's kind of the same idea. He's trying to find somebody that wants to step in there and be that guy's debut. It's tough. There's not a lot of people who are like, yeah, sure, sign me up for the multiple time world champion. So yeah, we'll see if we can get Hugo on the June show, if I can find someone crazy enough.
Yeah.
So, and now, I'd been out of the game for a little while when, before we came back with CombatFC, and 617 Jiu-Jitsu is a relatively new name for me. How long has that school been around under that name?
Well, my boy Carlos Neto used to own it. So I don't know if it was 617. It might have been on something else, but that gym's been there for a good amount of time. Maybe like 4 or 5 years, but he came over and he took over the gym. So I think he's been there for a year and a half, if I'm not mistaken. But, I got an opportunity. Carlos hit me up on the phone this summer while I was recovering from my knee, and he said, this kid, we want him to start fighting, and I know you have really good boxing skills. Is there something maybe you could work out with him where he could help you with your jiu-jitsu and you could help him with your boxing? So it was something that really just worked out in my favor and helped him out as well too. So we've been just training ever since beginning of August, maybe end of July.
Okay. And yeah, feel free to shout any of those guys out if you want to, by the way. If you're talking, teammates, coaches, feel free to definitely throw their names in if you want. Just one other question that I have for you. I know you mentioned that, your goals to get to the next level and, kind of make a run at this thing. How many times, how quickly are you looking to get back in there? I mean, obviously you can't look past February, but if things go well and you come out uninjured, kind of what's your goal for 2023? Are you looking to get in a bunch of fights, or are you?
Yeah, like you said, it's one fight at a time for me. I'll look past anybody, but I'd like to get this fight, and if I can get through this fight and everything's okay, I want to do 1 to 2 months taking off and get right back in there. I'd like to get 4 fights would be nice this year. That'd be really nice.
Yeah, so that's good to know. Hopefully you like our event because we've got 4 shows planned for 2023. So it's
awesome.
We found that worked out.
That's the plan right there.
I was actually at the last event for Mike's, and I really enjoyed the show. I enjoyed the show. Yeah,
thank you. Yeah, we've tried to make it a fun event for everybody. Not just from a competitive fight standpoint, from a production standpoint. We got to figure out the bathroom situation, though. That line for the bathroom was crazy last time.
I was just going outside at that point.
Yeah, it was pretty crazy, but yeah, it's a cool venue to see the fight in too, because there's really not a bad seat in there. Even if you're in a general admission seat in the furthest away from the cage, last row, it's still a great view, even without the screens.
I think you guys are doing a lot of things that a lot of people aren't doing with the Megatron, with people doing their little interview before that, the fog going off all around. It's pretty cool. I liked it.
Yeah, it seems like
it's unique.
Yeah, thank you. That's something that the Fight Pass team really liked too. When the feedback that we got on the production too was kind of doing those little things, right? We've seen so many other people on Fight Pass that they're not even bringing the lights down. They're doing them in it's just in a big open room with the lights on everywhere, and it's like we're trying to make it a compelling TV product. So that's definitely a part of what we're doing. So yeah,
what's your plan?
Go ahead. No, I'm good. I was going to say I don't really have many other questions left, so I wanted to kind of.
I was just about to ask Travis, do you have any plans of bringing on any sponsors for this fight? If people want to contact you, or do you already have anything?
I have about 12 sponsors.
Wow! Feel free to shout them out.
Yeah, I have. My barbershop. It's called The Barbershop. I have Natalia Vargas Insurance. I have Unlimited Demo, Demko Collision. Just going through them. It's hard to think of all of them. I wish I had them in front of me.
It's all good. You can always send it to us, and then we'll we'll put them in the description below. How do you? This is a question that I ask all the fighters pretty much every time. Some people know how to attract sponsors, and obviously you having 12, are you reaching out to them constantly, or you already have a relationship built with them? These are friends of yours that have companies.
A lot of them are people I know, or it's just it's word of mouth. People from my hometown that people from my hometown that I reach out to, and they know that I've been fighting for a while, and they're just willing to hop on and support me. So yeah, I'm appreciative of that as well. So a lot, I'd say it was half and half this time. Reaching out to newer sponsors and people that have been with me along the way.
Nice. And so when you have a fight coming up, are you actively talking to them and say, hey guys, I have a fight coming up. If you're interested, I have a couple spots for sponsors.
Yeah. I'll reach out to him. I'll reach out to him before the fight, probably 2 months, and say, hey, I got a fight coming up. Wondering if you'd like to sponsor me. I'm not one of those guys that makes a big package and says, hey, you need to give this amount of money, this amount of money. Anybody, any amount of money that somebody's willing to give me to follow my dream is just so much appreciated. So that's just how I take it.
100%. No, that makes sense. And so if people want to reach out to you, what's your favorite place for them to contact you? Is it Instagram, Facebook, a website, or anything like that? Your email?
Yeah, I'm really only on Instagram. That's the only social media I have.
What
So,
you can shout it out. You can shout
Travis Terminator X Demko. You can look it up on that.
Yeah, we'll put it in the description as well of this episode. Hi, man. This was really fun. I'm glad to get a chance to connect with you before the fight. We'll definitely see you inside the cage. And if you have a message for people at home or people that are listening to this episode, what would that be?
Don't blink.
That's what's up. I love that.
Yeah. Looking forward to seeing you in there, Travis. Can't wait for the fight.
Yeah, I appreciate you guys reaching out to me.
Yeah. Thanks a lot, man. Have a good one.
Take care. Bye.
Yeah, that's one I'm really excited for, man. That is going to be
this is going to be a fun one. If you said 50-1 amateur boxing.
Yeah, he said he had something. I don't know if he mentioned his record, but he said he had something like 50 amateur boxing fights. He was 9-1 as a pro.
That's a lot of amateur fights.
Yeah, and he's definitely going to have, probably the more technical boxing. I would say clearly the more technical boxing.
Yeah.
Than Krejci, but Krejci's a guy that, he's a crazy dude that went in there and was fist fighting people bare knuckle, right? And it's, MMA obviously is drastically different than boxing, and we've seen many instances of boxers, struggling in MMA with the smaller gloves, because you see guys get used to using the big puffy glove to block shots, whereas the MMA guys tend to to be a little bit more used to the smaller gloves, and obviously Travis has had MMA fights too, so it's not like, I don't think he's going to be relying on it the same way a typical boxer would, but I'm excited. I think it's going to be a great fight. I think it's going to be something that we'll see the really clean hands of Travis versus the brawling style of Josh, and I'm sure Josh will try to mix in some takedowns as well with with his jiu-jitsu background. So they're both really exciting all action fighters, and that's that's exactly what we're looking for. So it's and he's another one of those guys that I'm glad that he's kind of taking the leap and wanting to get back to MMA and kind of make a run at it. And we've seen it from a handful of guys that have been on our shows where I mentioned Mike Bulger on the during the interview with Travis. He's another one that his MMA bouts were kind of sporadic. He had some amateur bouts several years ago, then there was a big gap, and but then you talk to Mike, and it's we know that he's a talented guy that people would see, hey, this is a guy that has potential to get to the next level, and now he's same thing, was hey, I'm ready to do this. So it's always awesome when you find someone who's still in their 20s who has the skills to do it, who's like, yeah, I want to do, God willing, I want to do 4 fights this year. That's because we've seen so many guys get to the UFC quickly. We've seen so many guys. I mean, Nick Fiore just fought and he made his UFC debut last weekend, I believe. My weeks are blending together now, and he's a guy that was 6-0. He was 6-0. He had a bunch of first round finishes, and he got a shot in the UFC. And we see a lot more guys getting onto Contender Series at 5-0, 6-0. So someone like Travis, or our next guest obviously is Jake Pilla. He should be on any minute now. Or did I guys, and again, Jake Pill is another good example of that too. Someone who, he dealt with some injuries, and, it's always good when these guys are saying, hey, I want to make a run at this and I want to try to fight X amount of times in a year, because, if these guys are, if they enter 2023 at 2-0, if they're able to stay, to stay injury free for the year, and they're able to fight 4 times this year, these are guys that could be 6-0 at the end of 2023.
Yep.
These could be guys that, they could enter the year 2-0 and then all of a sudden be ready for a fight in the UFC by the end of the year. And that's something that
It's crazy how much a year of, if you're staying to the plan and you're able to, deliver on what you're trying to accomplish, like how much a year can change the outcome of somebody's career.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that, when I've talked to some younger people, and obviously, I'm not an MMA coach, I'm not a, I'm just a guy that runs a promotion, right? But the advice that I try to give to some people who are like, I don't know if this timeline works for me, maybe we'll check in 6 months. It's, hey, just if this one doesn't work, just sit down and try to figure out ultimately what's going to work for you, and when, how many fights you want to try to get in, because, you'll blink and then 18 months will go by and you won't have a fight. I saw an interview from one of the women fighting on the show on a different podcast, and she mentioned, kind of the same thing happened where, she didn't take a fight for a minute, and then it was kind of a nagging injury, and then it was, holy shit, I haven't fought in 2 years. And
and that changed. Yeah.
Yeah, and it's such a common thing, right? We see so many people, like, injuries are so common in this game. Or I know you're friends with Leo Ladera. Leo was supposed to fight on the last one, and he ripped his fingernail off with like a bike chain or something.
I remember that. That was crazy. Like right before what, like a week or 2 or something.
Yeah,
like
it was something.
Too.
Yeah, it was something like 14 days before the fight. It was and things like that are out of your control, and there's always, or another one of his opponents, like they he had on another show, he lost a bunch of opponents. And then, a kid flew in from out of state and came in, 10 pounds overweight or something crazy. So that fight was off.
I remember that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So you end up, like, through no fault of your own, Leo wanted to be very active. And, between his last fight, which was on our June show, to February, I mean, you're talking about an 8-month gap in activity. And, Leo had accepted a fight in, I think it was July that he wanted to take, July or August. So he planned on fighting in, whatever it was, July or August. Then he planned on fighting on our October show. So it's, and then he was obviously dealing with that injury, so he couldn't get another one in through the end of the year. So it's a lot of these guys, through no fault of their own, and just by how crazy the sport is, whether it be injuries or guys not making weight, or, there's a million reasons. I had a conversation with someone the other day, like, on our last event, I had 16 fighters total pull out of the show. 16 guys accept a fight, like, negotiated purse, sign the contract, send me a photo of them for the poster. I lost 16 people.
Out of what? Out of?
Well, we ended up having 14 fights on fight night, right? And so
you started 24, if I'm not wrong, right?
I booked 20. Yeah, I think it was 23. Might have been 24. Because I know that ultimately that stuff's going to happen, but I didn't think I was going to lose 16, and there's just so many.
Is that average? Is that average or
tough to? I mean, I know a lot of people do pull out, and I think it's, once you get inside that last 2 weeks, you don't lose nearly as many. But I would say, when we record the podcast next week, I'm guessing I would have lost 3 or 4 people between now and next week. This is right around the time that, and it happens for weird reasons, right? I lost a guy earlier, 2 guys in the last 7 days because they didn't have the money to get their CT scans done. So it's, and, we're finding replacement opponents for those guys. And, another guy pulled out in the last week because he popped a rib. So it's, injuries happen. We have people not have the money for their medicals or can't get the time off from work. Like, there's always something that comes up because, again, for a lot of these guys, it's not
a full-time gig.
It's not their career yet, right? So even if it is someone who's trying to treat it like a career, who wants to get in 4 fights this year, for their opponents, it might not be. Their opponents might be someone that's looking to get in 1 or 2, and then like I can't afford the medicals for this one. I'll just fight on the next one, or and the injuries happen too. So yeah, it happens really often that fights fall through. So someone like Leo Ladera, who wanted to fight multiple times, he was hoping to get in 2 more fights last year.
And then it happened for one time was the injury, and then the other one was the opponent.
Right. Yeah. So and now he's got a fight coming up in 3.5 weeks with us, and he lost an opponent originally on this one too, and he's got a replacement opponent in there now. And
this is the second or the third?
Second guy. Yeah. Second guy. Yeah, that's gonna be a great fight. Bobby Casale is gonna be an awesome fight. Him and Leo are gonna be great. I can't wait for that fight. But anyway, so what I was saying, my advice to some of the younger fighters is like, unless the timeline absolutely doesn't work, just try to get on there. Try to get on a card. Try to get as many fights in as you can, because obviously you've got to make sure that you're training for it and that you're ready for it and things like that. But and I'm not saying fight injured. Like, don't fight injured on the local level. There's no reason for that. But try to get the fights in when you can, because you never know. Like there's so many people that struggle to get on cards, and there's not a ton of spots available for pros. There's like the perception is, oh yeah, there's so many different promotions in the Northeast. It's of course, if we can get a fight, it's super easy. But a lot of the other shows, they'll do 4 and 5 pro fights. Some of the shows only have 2 or 3 pro fights. And
meaning it's heavily amateur oriented?
Yeah. There's a lot of amateurs on a lot of the shows, and like any show, right? Like we're gonna have, like, we do a lot more pro fights, with Fight Pass and some of the other things we're doing on this one. We're leaned heavily to pro, so that's something that's unique about us. But even on our shows, right? Like, we have guys that are kind of our guys that want to fight for us every time. And to be clear, we're not managing guys, we're not setting them up with easy fights or anything like that. But so when I say our guys, I mean guys that always have a spot on any of our shows. Jake Pilla is one of those guys. If Jake Pilla is available to fight, Jake's on our show 100% of the time. So if we have 10 pro fights, there's going to be guys like Jake,
5-6 spots that are already taken.
Yeah. Guys like Leo Ladera, Mike Bulger, potentially Travis Demko now, right? Like there's, Rico DeShulo. Like, before you know it, there's all of a sudden 8 or 9 guys that are people that I say they can fight on our show every time we have one. So if we end up having 10 pro fights and we've got 7 or 8 people who I've told they can fight for us anytime they want to, well, now all of a sudden, I'm not looking to make 10 pro fights. I'm really looking to make, more like 2 or 3. And obviously these guys, we have to match the fights too. We have to find people to, we need people to fight all the guys that I kind of guarantee a spot on the show. But I think you see where I'm going with it. And the other promotions do the same thing. If you look at any of them, if you look at the cards that they've had all year, there's you see a lot of the same names.
Repeat,
right? Like,
a lot of repeat.
Fighters. We're all trying to work with the similar guys, right? Because that makes things more exciting for the crowd as they start to recognize, oh, that's the guy I've seen fight on the last 2 shows, and they see his poster, and it's I'm excited to see him again, right? So that's no different than.
I feel like this is a great career/business plan for someone that's really serious about making this a career and trying to get a shot at the highest level, pretty much, because you just said, all right, you're trying to get in the eyes of the UFC, so this is what you should shoot for in terms of your record. Let's say you're 5-6-0. So how do you do that? Obviously you have to fight 5-6 times at least, right? So, but this is a great, right? Like I feel like you don't hear a lot of promotions or not even like content about people talking specifically about. So this is a great plan from a career standpoint. If you're looking to make this your career, this is a great way to kind of put in a plan and actually execute on it, and then from there kind of work it backwards, right? Like if the goal is to make 6 fights, or to try to be at least, build your record as a 5-6-0, having 5-6 fights, 4 fights in a year and a half, boom, you have 6 fights pretty much planned. Obviously, you have to work hard for it to make it, because it's not, it might sound a fight every 3 months. In theory, it's a lot of time in between, but that time you have to, train full time, because it's a full-time gig. It's not just a 2-week training before the before the fight. But it's a great way to kind of work backwards once all right, so this is a plan that I can actually shoot for. And if you're good enough, great enough, not good enough, can be, at least you can get a shot at, being in the eyes of the highest level of the sport. So I mean, this is cool stuff.
Yeah, we're starting to see people, because that's the other thing too. Contender, Dana White Contender Series, that's how a lot of these guys are getting into the UFC. Whether either that or a short notice opportunity, which short notice opportunities can happen anytime. So once you get to that, kind of 5-0, 6-0, like if you've got the right management team, be ready, you could potentially get a shot. But for a lot of these other guys that, Contender Series, I think they start matching for that right around April. And looking, April, May for those, kind of June, July, August shows. And so, there are people who kind of circle that time frame, like, okay, by, how many fights can I get in by March of, so for someone like, like a Jake or a Travis, right? It's all right, how do I make sure I'm 5-0 or 6-0 by March of 2024, so that I could potentially get, that I could potentially be ready for that call, because you don't really see the UFC bringing anyone in under 5-0, and even 5-0, that's relatively new for them in the last couple of years with Contender Series. So we see people try to figure out, okay, I have to make sure if I'm 2-0 now, I'd like to be, I think if I get to 6-0, I think, with impressive performances, I think I can get a shot.
And is that mostly from Fight Pass, UFC Fight Pass?
Yeah, they do pull. Yeah, they do pull a lot from UFC Fight Pass. I mean, we do see, it's not a requirement by any means. Yeah. We see a lot of people from other shows getting into the UFC as well. It certainly helps though. And I think just even from a marketing standpoint, the UFC owns that content. So if they're bringing someone on to Contender Series, we always see them talk about, oh, he's an LFA champion, he's a CFFC champion, something like that, right? Like we always see them reference championships that were won on Fight Pass, and then they have, the video montages of their prior fights. If it's high quality video that they own, they use it. If it's some poor quality video that they have to go pay somebody for, you don't see it. So those are definitely things that it helps. It definitely helps, and the UFC's paying for the content for a reason, right?
Right. So they can use it, if they need to.
Yeah, and so yeah, it's definitely like the game is definitely changing, and that's like I said, that's the thing I try to tell guys is just be active when you can, because you never know, right? Because injuries could happen, you could lose opponents, you just get busy, you get busy with work.
Life gets into way.
Yeah, and a lot of these, a lot of these guys are in their 20s or early 30s, and that's when a lot
time
of people...
time doesn't work in your advantage.
And where I was going with it though is that's when guys that are in their let's call it mid to late 20s, that's when you start seeing guys, they get engaged, they get married, they have their first child, they buy a house, they change careers, or they go from a job to a career, right? They start getting, so that's when guys they start to have those adult responsibilities kick in, right? So it's pretty, there's a bunch of fighters that I've been talking to that really wanted to get on a particular show, and then this is going to be really tough because I'm having my first child 30 days before the event, so I can't really fight on this one. But then 4 months later, right, it's okay, but do you really want to fight when you've got a 4-month-old at home, right? Like is it that would be really tough to dedicate all the time that you need to. And
responsibilities change and can change at any point in time pretty much, but I mean, it also has to do with like how important the, you know, and you don't want to make people pick a side necessarily. It's just you have to kind of put things in place to figure out, all right, at what point in time do you decide I'm gonna do whatever it takes to get on this many fights this year versus, all right, I mean, stuff happens and you know,
Yeah.
life gets in the way. Jake Pilla actually is requesting access, so I'll let him in.
Perfect. So yeah, that's something that,
But that's a great plan to at least some, you know, from a 30,000 foot view, you can actually work it backwards from there.
yeah, and yeah. So wait till Jake's audio picks up, and then I'll kind of fill him in on
Take a second. I don't know if you can
what
hear
we're
us,
talking
Jake.
about here.
There you
hey,
go.
Jake,
I
how's it going?
think he can hear us now. What's going on, brother?
What's up, man? How are you guys?
Good. Welcome. Actually, if I'm not wrong, Jake is the first returner on the show, right?
Yeah, he's the first guy
He's the
that
first
we're interviewing
guest
twice.
that he's returning on the podcast, the first person. So welcome back, actually. Let me know if you can hear as well.
Oh, yeah, it looks like he might have
Might get a
frozen
little
there.
bit of a, yeah.
All right, you guys there?
Yep.
Yes,
All
we
right.
are.
Perfect.
Yeah, I was just saying, welcome back to the show. You're the first person that actually is returning on the podcast. We're
Thank you guys
pumped to
for
have
having
you.
me. Yeah, glad to be here.
Pumped to have you tonight. What have you been up to?
Training, man, just training and working on the team. You know, having the gym. Since my fight, I've had 2 girls out of my school have some big W's, and so I've just been kind of focusing on them and keeping the gym moving and getting all my guys ready. And so it's been keeping me in there and keeping me active.
How do you manage the time between, because you fought on the last card, right?
Yep.
And then you said you had 2 students that fought. Was that MMA?
Yeah, so I had 1 kickboxing and 1 MMA.
That's what's up. How do you manage the time between? Because I know it's a big difference being a fighter versus being a coach.
Yeah, it's one of those things, you know, like luckily enough, a lot of times if I'm going to a certain session, I might bring some of my guys with me and let them get work and keep an eye on them. And so like where I have so many great coaches, I'm introducing them to the same coaches that I have and the same guys that are, you know, like I bring both of my coaches in to coach in my room. I have a boxing coach that comes in every week. So I get to kind of train and be their coach. And I'm kind of enjoying the best of both worlds, you know? So I know as a fighter, kind of like what I want and what I expect and what I've always felt like I needed from my coaches. And so I just try to give that to my guys, you know, and they seem to be taking to it super well. They're being super successful and doing what they're supposed to. And so it's a blessing, man. I enjoy it. It's just as much work as fighting, but it's also, you know, just as rewarding seeing them take the W's, seeing them, you know, really like proud of themselves and get big wins. It's awesome. You know, it's nice to see on this end of things too.
I'm curious to find out, how do you switch? Because I know, you know, you have to go into a different mindset when the coaching that you need to get. Like, do you have specific days where you say, all right, now today I'm only focusing on coaching my students, and then once I'm done with them, then I get in some training or whatever. But then these days of the week, I'm just focusing on me, the fighter. Do you actually do that, or how easy is it for you to kind of you know, flip the switch and
Yeah,
in that
so
direction?
I do that. I do that in a sense of time, right? Where like my fight will be the next thing coming up at the school, like on the school's roster. So the direction and the focus has been turned on to me, right? But then as soon as this fight's over and we line up, you know, one of my students, the focus will then turn to them, and so it starts to kind of based on who has the closest thing coming up. I mean, we're all training all the time and we're always working. But it definitely starts to become like where I'm 3.5 weeks out. The focus is now on my camp, you know, what I need and kind of what I'm doing. But the team understands because as soon as they have something coming or they need something, we allocate the time for it. The other thing too, though, is like, you know, like as I'm coaching, a lot of it is at night, right? So I'm coaching Monday, Tuesday, Thursday. You know, I have a coaching on Wednesday who's phenomenal. I'm coaching sometimes on the weekends. But during the mornings and during the days, a lot of times I'm going to other schools. I'm getting rounds in. I just left FAF half hour ago and I was getting mitt work and getting sparring, just kind of doing my thing. So I definitely allocate my time differently depending on what's on the horizon. And so that definitely is kind of what I think helps,
That makes a lot of sense. What do you think about the fight coming up?
I'm excited, man. I'm excited to get in there and just to get back to work. This is to me, this is the momentum that I've been kind of waiting for. And obviously we had COVID and I had injuries and every other excuse in the book, but I definitely feel like that last fight kind of put me right back on track. So now I'm just excited to keep the momentum going. I just want to kind of keep moving, keep going forward. I'm back to loving it and living the fight life and enjoying it. So I just want to kind of keep moving.
Yeah, it's funny. Right before you joined, Mary and I we were talking about, I've been telling a lot of guys who are kind of like, yeah, I think this one might work. Maybe I have to wait till the next one. The advice I usually give people is, hey, if you're healthy, get in there and do it, because you never know. You'll blink, and then next thing you know, it's, we use the example of, Leo Ladera. He fought on our June show, and then he had a bunch of opponents pull out on another show, and so he wasn't able to fight. Then he got injured right before our show, so he wanted to get in 2 more fights in 2022, and it's going to end up being 8 months between his bouts, and it was, through no fault of his own, right? So we were just chatting about, we see a lot of guys, like, I'm going to take a few months off, and then next thing you know, it's they buy a house, and I got to build a deck, I got some shit going on, and then it's, like all of a sudden it's my girl's pregnant, and then guys blink and they've been out of the cage 2 or 3 years. It happens quick, right? So yeah, that's something that we the guy on the podcast right before you was Travis Demko, and he's a guy that, I don't know if you've worked out with Travis or not. I know you guys are the same weight class.
I know him. I know Travis pretty well. We're supposed to be getting working actually before this upcoming fight. He trains at FAF, and so it's kind of like a middle ground between us. So I'll probably get working with him over the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and he mentioned, hey, he's similar to what you were saying, back in it. He fought last year, and it's, hey, I want to get in a bunch of fights moving forward, and it's that's the advice I try to give some of the younger guys is, hey, when try to get them in when you can, because you never know, and then all of a sudden an injury will take you, keep you out of the cage for a little bit. And I love it when we see the guys that truly have the ability to make it to the next level, when they're kind of in that spot, and it's, hey, we're ready to go. I'm looking to get a bunch of fights in, and so yeah, we're pumped to have you back on there. And I mentioned it earlier to Marian. We lost your original opponent, so so that sucks. We're working on some things there. We've got.
I wasn't going to say anything. I would have kept it going.
Yeah,
I'm still ready to go.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I mean, we've got some people that are, that are seemingly ready to go. So we just gotta figure out which direction makes the most sense for you. And it's we're excited to have you on the show either way. And that last fight, it was obviously super exciting. It went was in and out in a hurry, but it seemed like all the people that showed up to see you felt like they got their money's worth. So
that's all that matters, right? I always say, hey, you guys aren't going to pay me more for going to the second round. If you did, we would figure something else out. But
yeah, absolutely. So a question I had, obviously you had one of your students had one of the probably early favorite for knockout of the year, right? She had that big spinning back fist knockout. So you had your big win at CombatFC. So I guess how do those feelings compare, right? Like I imagine it's when you see one of your students land something massive like that in a fight, I mean, I imagine it's probably going to be a similar amount of excitement, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, when somebody that you've worked, like a lot with, and you put time into, like, hit something like that or does something to such a tremendous level, man, that the amount of pride and excitement and just like, it's a very wholehearted feeling, because I, as a fighter, know the amount of work that's put in, and I know, kind of how hard it can be, and just to make it to fight day is not easy. That's, my opponent pulled out, guys pull out, people get hurt, things happen, and so like being able to see someone have that much success after their hard work. I love it. I absolutely love it. My wins are always nice, but I'm not new to this game, you know. So like, I had that last fight. I think we fought Friday night. Sunday night, I am in the gym holding mitts and right back at it and like helping the team because now my time's over. And so I've gotten better at when the fight's over. I used to kind of ride the emotions pretty hard, and I'd take a couple weeks, and I'd be out with friends and partying and drinking, and you have like that post-fight depression, and you all the hype is over, and you kind of get a little lost. And there was definitely a point in my fighting career where like I was like that, and I was kind of newer. Where now I just go right back in the gym. You know, like that day is exciting, and I love it, and I work hard for it, and I'm always excited for it. But you know, my focus is this next fight, and when this fight is over, my focus goes right back to the next fight. You know, I'm not looking in the future. I'm looking at right now, but I know that, you know, this is just a small step in what I got to do, and I'm just trying to keep it that way. You know, I don't think you can get too excited after the wins, and I don't think you can get too upset after the losses. You got to kind of keep that middle ground and keep moving. Otherwise, they can consume you, you know. And I've been there for losses in my career, and I've been there with wins in my career, where afterwards I'm just so excited and pumped that I'm good for training for a little while, or I'm just going to take some time and hang out. And I work so hard, and it never kind of does what you want it to do. You always think that you're going to like bounce right back. And so now at this point, I keep it as simple as I can. All right, fight's over. Am I healthy? Great. Go to the gym. Am I not healthy? Recover. Focus on my rest and recovery, get right back to the gym. You know, and I don't have the luxury of like taking those weeks off. You know, my guys need me there as much as I need them when I'm training and fighting. So I got, you know, Monday comes around, I got to be a class to coach. Tuesday comes around, even if I'm taking time off, I'm on the mats. I am going to be the most consistent. And so it keeps me in that middle ground. It keeps me, you know, kind of focused on the bigger goal while accomplishing the smaller things.
What's your bigger goal for 2023? What do you think?
You know, I'd like to take a couple good fights. I think you guys are having 4 cards this year, and so I think that's kind of the goal. I'd like to have 4 fights myself, but I also, you know, my team's really kind of on the come up. You know, I had Melissa take a kickboxing fight, arguably fight of the night, back and forth, beautiful win. Same thing, hitting spinning back fist, and you know, hitting some slick stuff. You know, it was a great kind of first step for her. And then I had Amanda join our team and bust her ass and come in and really kind of show herself. And so she's looking to have a big year. And I got a couple guys that are now starting to get the itch for fighting, and they've put in the time. They're good enough to be Amies and to start their journeys. And so this year, man, I'm just trying to grow in every area. You know, the gym is on a growing path, and I'm excited. And we're looking to kind of move to a bigger location and kind of do some big things over the next 6 months. So, which is huge. I mean, we kind of have a spot in mind. If everything works out, I would say, well, I'm looking for March. March would be kind of ideal, and I would like kind of quadruple my size, which would be
That's
a
awesome.
big step.
Nice.
Yeah, so that's kind of, you know, a big goal. And again, like if I'm doing everything the way I'm supposed to on my end with the gym, it's only going to help with the fighting. You know, it's only going to complement everything else I'm doing. And so I'm just trying to stay as tight and honest to the fight world and the coaching world and kind of the training and everything that I can, because I think that a year like this could really make a difference between, you know, the gym and my facility, between my fighters' careers and with mine. You know, if I can come out of this year as a 6-0 pro, I mean, that's a pretty big statement, you know? And so I think something like that is definitely the forefront of the goal. But to do that, I have to do all the back work. I have to grow the gym. I have to have the students. I have to make sure that I'm sustaining in all the other areas. And so I'm just trying to keep, you know, kind of, again, keep moving forward. You know, I can't pause and hang out and get complacent, because it's only going to kind of, you know, do me damage.
Oh, it's like you said at the beginning of the interview, the momentum, as long as you can keep the momentum in there, it's obviously a great thing. What do you feel drives you? I'm actually curious now. What drives you more? Is it growing like the business side of things? Is it seeing your students win more fights? Is it you getting on as many cards as possible? What do you feel is like, I shouldn't say balance, because there's no, like, if it's all balanced,
I'm
then it's,
super competitive.
that's what's up.
Yeah, I like, and it sounds funny, man, but like when I'm in a room, like I enjoy being a small fish in the room, and I enjoy getting beat up and having these guys, you know, kind of run my number. But when it comes to fight night, when it comes to walking into a tournament or walking in a fight, or like having me and my team walk out anywhere, like I want to be the baddest dude in the room. I'm coming for skulls. You know what I mean? Like, and it sounds funny. I'm never going to be rude. I never want to talk shit. I'll buy you a beer afterwards. Big hug. I got nothing rude to say. I'm happy for the opportunity to get in there and do what I love. But I'm so competitive. I can't help but want to be great. You know, it's, you know, I think some people are able to be complacent and they're just happy with who they are, and that's awesome, right? That's like really cool and all. I just don't have that in me. I don't. There's nothing that wakes up and goes, yeah, that was enough today. Like I want more. I want more in every aspect. Like I feel like if I demand greatness from myself, I'm bound to hit it.
Love to hear that, man.
Yeah, and you can totally see how, your plan for the year, right? Like the bigger facility, and if you get a bunch of fights in, and you can be 6-0, but you can see how those two things would feed into each other, right? Because
Oh,
I'm
yeah.
sure after your big win, I'm sure your classes were packed the following week, right? Like those students
yeah.
who were, those students who had been kind of, I'm going to take a couple
Yeah.
weeks off. All of a sudden they see you go in there and get a win. And now they're back at the gym Monday. They're excited about it again. And everything's,
Yeah.
you can see how, having that buzz in the gym. I mean, it's been a while since I was training at a gym consistently, but we always saw those big spikes, right? As soon, if one of our teammates went out and got a big win, all of a sudden, sparring day is packed next week, and
it's been like pretty cool because like that normally happens when I fight, right? Like I'll see the spike and you'll kind of see that. But a lot of people, they have the assumption that I'm a pro now. You know what I mean? Like this is kind of what I do. So there is like that, oh, I can't do that, or oh, I'll never. But now that I have I had 2 amateur girls fight and they kicked ass. Now the boys got no excuse and they know it. I think it was like the day after Melissa fought, I had like 3 of the guys in the gym be like, yo, coach, like, what do you think about me this year? And like, do you think, I'm like, yeah, I love it. I think it showed them how obtainable it is and how realistic it is if they're putting in the work. And so with that, like my room is so hungry because now they all want to compete. They all are getting that bug and, they're starting to get the edge. And it's cool because they're not, I'm not breeding a bunch of assholes. It's the only way I can say it, that like the guys in my gym are the sweetest, nicest, most humble guys that I've ever worked with. They love learning. They love coming in and we have fun, I am zero politics. I am zero, bullshit. I'm zero drama. Like come in, get good work in, and be on your way. We're going to have a good time in here. We're going to work hard and we're going to enjoy each other's company. And I don't allow for any of the middle ground or the nonsense. I keep it very, very simple. If you're going to be here, this is how I expect you to act. And if you don't, it's okay. There are a million schools out there. I don't take it personal,
Yeah.
Well, and I feel like you attract the kind of people in your circle, the way that you are, and, your expertise and the way that you are speaks volume, obviously.
Yeah, I mean, you got to lead by example, right? Like I can't expect my guys to do anything that I'm not willing to do. And, that's the name of the game. If my coaches weren't willing to get on the mats with me all those years, I don't know if I would have been as consistent. I don't, to this day, both, or all of my coaches, you go Brian, you go Dooms, you can go, Nate or Coach Sean or any of these guys, they're on the mats. They are working me. They are getting rounds in. They are not shy for the hard work. And, for that, like, I'm not shy with my guys. I'll be the first one doing, burpees for the whole room because someone's on the back end of it and someone's struggling. I'll go over there. I'll be your teammate and your coach. Like, I'll get down with you. We're going to do them together, And so like having that real, it's like a real team, right? I haven't seen this in a long time. The only real gym that I've seen this at, I would say, is Burgess over the last, we'll say 7 or 8 years. I've bounced around training a lot. I've coached at different schools. I definitely was kind of a journeyman in my career where I wasn't at a one place. But now having my own place, like having that sense of family, that we're having holiday parties last week and I have, 25, 30 people. And I'm like, this is, like I'm standing there being like, this is so cool. Like, look at them all talking and hanging out and like really caring about each other. And so like having that as such a driving force in the room that, I'm excited where it's going.
Yeah. That's really awesome, man. I'm glad that it's working out for you.
Thanks. Thank you.
I've got kind of an oddball question for you. I don't know if you've considered this or not, but I've talked to some guys in the past who, they've fought on the same shows as their students, and I've had some guys say, "Hey, I really loved the experience," and I've had some guys say, "That was just fucking terrible because I was so nervous for my students' fight, and then like there was just a big adrenaline dump, and it was really hard for me to get into the space that I need to be in order to go fight." So is that something that, do you think you're someone that would actually enjoy fighting on a card with one of your students, or would you have to keep that separate, you think?
I would rather keep it separate. And like, I know, maybe at some point there will be some crossovers with that. And if that's the case, like like as much as I am lead coach, I will have my coaches and some other coaches there and backing me and making sure the warm up is set for everybody. And so that it doesn't all fall on my head, like I'm very real in the sense of like what I'm capable of in those moments. If I don't think I can't hold mitts for 4 people in one night that are fighting and hit mitts and warm up. And so like I'll bring in people that are better than me or that know what I know to help me in those moments. So I would definitely rather not fight the same nights as them. I'm very close with anybody who fights out of my school or is under me or trains with me. I'm very close with. Like we share like a very close emotional
you want to make
connection.
sure you can give them that attention.
Yeah, and I'm trying to be dialed in for them. I want to give everything I have to you tonight because that's what you deserve. You worked hard. But at the flip end, I want to have my night where like I don't want to worry about you on the night that I need to be worried about me and my career as well.
Yeah.
So I'd like to keep them separate, but if an opportunity came up that was kind of too good to pass or that seemed to make sense, I would run it appropriately, I would say.
Yeah, that makes sense. And one of the common things I've heard from guys that hated the idea was, it seems like a lot of the guys that coach and fight tend to, they don't really worry about themselves. They go in there, there's a certain amount of nerves that they have, but it's a much different kind of nervous energy that they have for their students, it seems like. And that's kind of been the common thing that guys have said, like, hey, I can't feel like shit, and be super nervous for my fighter and have that crazy adrenaline dump. And then, because again, they tend to not worry about themselves, I guess, but they're worried about their students. So
big time, like when you're coaching, you can't control what they're doing in the cage. I can yell and scream and I can give the best direction in the world. Doesn't mean they're going to listen to me, right? It doesn't mean they're going to hear me. They're going to perform or have a good night. And so for me, like I always take coaching as like it's an emotional roller coaster. Like on a win or a loss, by the time the night's over, I'm exhausted because you put so much in. Like I take it very serious where like, some coaches are like, cool, just go on and hit mitts. Like they're not, I don't work that way. Like I really put so much of my like effort into these people and I know they're giving it back to me. So like, we're so close. Hey, this is so important to me. I'm here for you. I want you dialed in. I want you ready to go. I want to leave all doubt outside,
Yeah.
So I definitely think it would be hard to try to do that.
Yeah. So we'll wait until after you get to the UFC before we get any of your students on the show then.
Perfect. Yeah. I mean, but hey, like unless I'm taking a card off for an injury or something, we might have to hold off on them.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Absolutely. So I know it's getting kind of late here. So we want to give you an opportunity to shout out your sponsors. I know that that's something that you put a lot of time and effort in, and you make sure that that you're doing good for them too. And so, yeah, we want to give you some time to talk about the guys that have been helping you out. And,
I say it all the time, man. I'm so blessed to have these people believe in me, and I truly think that they do because I believe in myself. But like, Mike Z Customs, huge sponsor, always doing the most, setting up my cars, hooking me up. Otherwise, I swear everything I have breaks down. But always taking care of me. I got Smart Installs. Smart Installs always trying to rep me, always coming by the gym, always giving me work and helping me and really making sure I'm doing my best. I got Balanced out of Plastyle, doing all my meals, kind of helping me in that end. And that's also Brendan Marat. Shout out to my boy. We got to get him scrapping this year too. I want to drag him out of time.
We would love to. I tried.
Listen, I'll say it out loud. I'll drag him out of retirement this year. I'm definitely excited, but he's covering all my meals. I have Deatter, great sponsor. I'm on the spot right now. Classic Cars of Florida. Like anytime I travel and I'm going down there, like I always love to go, Disney or Miami or wherever. I'm hooked up. I got a nice ride for the weekend. I got, I'm going to dinner with friends and people I consider like family. They're always taking care of me. Nag Comedy, my buddy Nick, great comedian. You'll see his stuff all over my Instagram. I definitely, man, I got some great ones. I got North Shore Apparel. They're now taking care of all my shirts and all the extra stuff. I'm at the Chase Salon. We load this stuff, But yeah, no, I truly, man, I'm super blessed by these people. I got State Energy for all your solar needs. They're helping me out. They're always taking care of me. I just brought on Rec Grid and Bitsy Club. Bitsy Club is jumping on now as a big sponsor, which is pretty cool. I really appreciate all these guys. I got my security guys down with Sean, BSN,
there you go.
They're always coming in. So we're loading it up. We're loading it up. We're gonna just, me and everybody on my back is coming for some W's this year, and I'm gonna deliver for them. So.
Man, I gotta say, I remember this from the last episode you've been on. You have a great memory, like remembering every single sponsor, like just when, because I remember I asked you this question last time and you were like, boom, 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 boom. I'm actually curious, do you teach your students about this part of their career? Like, reaching out to sponsors, possibly maybe even introducing some of them to this game?
Yeah, it's something that, again, I really do try to make this a business as much as I enjoy it. I do try to keep some sort of like order with it all. And so like my fighters need a fight binder, and that fight binder, it's going to go over their ticket sales. It's going to go over their t-shirts, their medicals, their sponsors, anything you could think of, we're going to have in that fight binder. And so like anytime that they want to compete and they want to fight, I'm going to talk to them about doing shirts, doing logos, getting sponsors. Here's how we're going to go about it. This is what I've done, and it's worked really well. You're welcome to follow what I've done. If you'd like to do it your own way, that's okay. You're welcome to go and talk to anybody, do anything you need to. But I definitely try to give them the blueprint. There's been other guys that I've coached for short periods of time that have taken my blueprint and kind of try to run with it. But now having my team, it is nice to be able to kind of help guide them and get sponsors. I use Melissa. That was the first girl who fought out of the gym, and she's been working with me since day one. And she had her own fight shirts. She had her own sponsors for the fight. Definitely did it the right way on like a professional level, and it's nice to see because I don't want my guys to look sloppy. Same thing. Amanda, a couple of weeks ago, we show up to weigh-ins with a fight binder, and we are the only ones down the line that are just crossing things off. Here's the tickets. Here's our sales. Here's everything. Okay, what do you need from? It's right here. Oh, you need licensing? Oh, it's right here. Like we really try to keep it very professional. I want my amateurs coming in as if they're pros. I want, I want Rick and the guys that are running these shows to see that when we come in, they want to work with us. We know it's a big opportunity, and we know that, it kind of goes for both people. You guys are taking a risk working with us as well as we are with you. You could be a terrible promotion or something like that, and so regardless, we try to come in as professional as we can. And then, with you guys at CombatFC, like it's great to be able to work with other people that are very professional. It's black and white. I don't have to worry that it becomes easy when you set it up that way. And so I try to get them all to kind of follow suit in what I'm doing and do it their own way, do their own colors, their own logos. I tell them all, I'm also not somebody, and I say this very like openly, like I don't believe in taking money from my fighters. Right. What I mean by that is they're going to pay a membership. They're going to show up like everybody else. But they take their sponsors. They take their tickets. They take their T-shirts. I tell them all the time, the only thing I'm not doing is paying for one of your T-shirts. Okay. If you're going to make me come out and do all the extra work, you need to give me a T-shirt. Otherwise, I don't have any, I'm not somebody who's ever I need 20%. If you're fighting out of, I'm here to grow myself, and I don't want anybody touching my pockets. And I know they're trying to do the same. If there's a point in their careers where they're making $150,000 a fighter, and we're on the next level, okay, we can talk about it. You got to help coach out. But until then, to me, like I'm trying to grow them the same way I've grown. I'm trying to get us all to a better level. A good friend of mine always says that a rising tide raises all boats. And so I'm just trying to raise the tide up all the time and watch the team get bigger and better, bigger and better.
No, man, I love that, and they're blessed to get this type of coaching from you outside of just the mat work, because at the end of the day, right, like it's not just it's a full blown career, right, and it has its own perks and its own things that you have to deliver on your commitments and everything else. But yeah, I mean, they're blessed to have a coach like you to kind of walk them through this part of the process as well. Because again, like you said, if they are, even if they're fighting at amateur level, they're looking like pros already. So by the time that they get to the pro level, now they have such a great background of skill set they can actually build upon.
Yeah, and that's what I want. I want them to be able to go as far as they would like to. I'm not looking to pressure anybody into making this a career or making this, like their bread and butter, and this is what they're going to try to do for work and live that lifestyle. Like I do know that's a very hard lifestyle, but if that's the choices that they're trying to make, I'm going to try to help them get there, and so I keep it simple. I give them all the same treatment. Nobody gets special treatment or anything extra. If you want to come in and give the work, I'll give it back to you. If you're not coming in, there's nothing I can do, and so the same thing with the fight binder or I give you the tools for the success. If you don't want to use them, there's only so much I can do. But as of now, anybody so far who, like we're starting to make, like some little things mandatory, and so for now, like I haven't made it mandatory. Everybody wants to follow suit. So I like that. I like the fact that like they believe I'm giving them the right stuff to succeed, and they're willing and they're eager to do it. And so it's nice. I'm not somebody who I say all the time, I'm a good leader, but I'm not a good boss, And so it's one of those things where like I'm never going to tell somebody what to do or how to do it. Everyone's different. You got your own style. I got my own style. And, just the same way I wouldn't expect you to want to change me. I'm not trying to change you, but I'm going to give you as many tools as I can to do it your way successfully. And so that's what I feel like they're doing. Their shirts are different. Their sponsors are different. They do a lot of things differently. And maybe I wouldn't do it the same way, but they're keeping the same structure that's going to make them successful.
No, that's great, man. It's a great blueprint that you're giving them. Yep.
Appreciate it. Yeah, it's a lot of work. I'm trying, I'm still figuring it out. This whole owning a gym and coaching fighters and running it all, it's still a learning curve, and I still got a lot to learn, but I definitely feel like we as a gym and we as a school are doing very well. And I'm super proud to have them behind me and be behind them. I think this year for the school, we're gonna make a really big statement. I truly think we're gonna get this moved to a larger facility. And with that, I think that just kind of opens the floodgates. The room I have now is relatively small, but it's great, right? Great guys, great classes, great coaches. So now if I can elevate the space, I can bring in more coaches, bring in more guys. And as long as we continue to grow the way we have over the last 2.5 years, sky's the limit. A couple years, I've been saying it forever. When I'm 35, I'm done working. That's it. I'll coach and I'll fight, but I'm not done doing anything else. And so if I can just keep this momentum going, and it's not overnight, I don't have 100 students overnight or anything like that, but I have, let's say 25 to 35 of the best guys you could ask for that are coming in and consistent, awesome. And that's what you want. I don't want the guys who want to half-ass and don't care. I want the people who care about the room, care about what they're doing, and are trying to be better. If that means fighting, great. If that just means that, you work a plumbing job 5 days a week and you want to come in and be healthy and learn some cool stuff, that's great too. Let me help you with those goals, And so I'm ready for this year to be a takeover year for all of us.
That's
and, Amanda
That's
set
awesome,
the precedence. So now I gotta come with some big win or something cool, and just kind of keep it moving.
Yeah, really. It's gonna be tough to follow up the spinning back fist. So
I know I was super happy, but that's the first thing I thought afterwards. I was like, "Oh, kid, come on! This is what you're gonna put me through."
Right, exactly. At least do it before somebody else's fight.
Yeah. You're gonna send me in there next.
Yeah,
I'm gonna have to cargo kick somebody.
Yeah. Well, it's always good talking with you, Jake. Thanks for coming
guys.
on. I appreciate the short notice tonight. Yeah. Good luck with the rest of camp. We'll talk soon.
Thank you.
100%, man. And wish you all the best with the gym, with the business. Fingers crossed for you to keep the momentum going, and wish you all the best in the fight too. See you in a couple of weeks.
Appreciate it, guys. Thank you so much for having me.
100%, man.
Thanks a lot,
Have a
man.
good night.
Have a good one.
Anytime, guys.
Now, this was an interview that didn't even have to ask so many questions.
Yeah. He's always a good interview, man. He's an interesting guy. He's always got a lot going on. So yeah, he's always fun to talk to.
It's a fun one too. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited to see kind of what the year holds for him, right, with the new facility, and we'll see how many fights he gets in this year. Yeah, it's gonna be,
It's funny. We were just talking about that goal, and then he came on and said, "Well, I'm trying to hit 4 fights this year on all 4 cards." I'm like, at the right time.
So yeah, he's looking at trying to do big things and trying to get to that next level. So he's got to go in there and win the fights, though. It's obviously step one. So we'll see how that goes. And I wish him luck with the new facility. That's always exciting when guys move into a bigger gym. It's when things are working, and you can just see if he applies the same
mentality,
the same mentality, the same passion, the same energy, if he's applying that to the school the way that he is.
Yeah, then the fights only help the whole momentum, because like you said, once students see him on the spot in the cage fighting, getting out there, getting the name out there, right? Like this is in my opinion, this is the perfect business model for someone that really wants to make this a full-blown career. Having a gym, because it's right in line. Sometimes when you have different businesses, the fame, quote unquote, that you get from fighting, it's one thing, but then when you get them so aligned, now it's a whole different.
Right, exactly. So as he's having a good year and winning fights, more and more people want to come train with him, and as some of the other students start winning fights, now all of a sudden their buddies want to come train, and that was always something that was interesting at the the gym I trained at years ago. Is one guy would come in and things would start going well for them and they were really liking it. Then all of a sudden a couple of their buddies came in, and it's once that momentum starts building, it spirals quickly, and then
it builds upon one each other.
Yeah, next thing you know, you got 100 students. So it's
100%. This was a fun one, but anyway, I know we are getting close to wrapping things up. Anything you want to leave people with?
No, just we're 3.5 weeks away, man. So it's going to be an awesome card. February 10th, Shriners Auditorium in Wilmington. Can't wait. We're just about completely out of tables. I think we've got 2 or 3 tables left that are kind of in the last row of the tables, and everything else is gone.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. We've got a lot of and we see it kind of building on each other, same way we did. Yeah, when we had shows the first time, they just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and the upfront ticket sales got bigger and bigger, and we're definitely seeing that where we've got a lot more tickets sold now than we did 3.5 weeks out last time. We've got, the card that we have matched is crazy. Like I'm really hoping that we can find a way to get through these 3.5 weeks and keep most of it together. And yeah, it's going to be bananas, man. I'm so excited. It's going to be awesome.
That's what's up.
Yeah, we'll see you guys there.
100%. Hi, guys. Thanks for listening, watching. We'll catch you guys on the next episode. As always, don't forget, the easiest way to support the show is just to hit that subscribe, follow, whatever platform you decide to listen or watch these episodes. Thank you so much for being here, guys. We'll catch you in the next one. Peace.